Hello, Chemistry 10H students. This is Mrs. Altman, and in this video, we're going to review naming type 2 compounds. Right, so just as a reminder, type 2 compounds contain a transition metal and some sort of nonmetal, some sort of anion. Transition metals can have multiple charges or multiple oxidation states. So remember when we were doing our common charges on the periodic table, we actually skipped our transition metals. And the reason why we do that is because they can actually have more than one correct charge. So for example, iron can have a charge of +2, or it can have a charge of +3. And the only way that you know what charge is by it being a part of the name. So iron 2 chloride, that too is telling you the charge of iron. It would be redundant to do that for something type 1 since they have common charges, but for things like transition metals that can have more than one correct charge, we have to specify it with your Roman numerals. I'm just going to go ahead and real quick write the Roman numerals out in case you didn't already know them. You're never really going to see it go past, say, like 8, but just in case you didn't know them, I just wanted to list them out. All right, let's take a look at this sample. I'll walk through these. So remember that that Roman numeral is the charge. So it says cobalt 2, so it's cobalt with a 2 plus charge, and then chlorine. So chlorine on the periodic table has a charge of -1. And then just like our type 1s, you just crisscross. So I get COCl2. For the next one, I've got iron, and then it says 3, so that's going to be my charge. And then it says oxide. Oxygen's common charge is -2. So I have Fe2O3. That's just rust. And now I've got manganese 6 sulfide. So Mn with a 6 plus charge. And then I've got sulfur, which has a 2 minus charge. Crisscross applesauce. So I originally get Mn2 S6, which I then have to simplify, and it is obligatory to simplify it to be MnS3. And then I've got silver 1 iodide, so Ag with a +1 charge, iodine with a -1 charge, crisscross. I don't have to write my ones, so my answer is just AGI. So the really important thing to remember is that the Roman numeral is the charge, and then you have to crisscross. When we're naming type 1 compounds, it's very similar to type 2 compounds, except you have to add the Roman numeral. So you would write the name of the transition metal, like, for example, iron. Then we're going to determine the charge. I'm going to actually show it with the example. And once you get what the charge is, you place it in Roman numerals. And then you just change the ion just like it was type 1, changing the suffix to "ide." So for example, iron 2 oxide, iron 3 chloride, something along those lines. Okay. I'm going to show you sort of like a trick to help you figure these out. You don't necessarily have to use it. For the first one, I know it's going to be silver something sulfide. So I just write that out first, and I give myself a little bit of room to fill in a Roman numeral after the fact. So I've got Ag to S. All right. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to change the color so you can see it's different steps. At the top, I'm going to put the common charge, or the charges. I don't know what silver's charge is yet, so I'm going to call it X. I do know that sulfur's charge is -2. And then just because there's nothing written by the sulfur, I'm just putting that 1 there to remind myself that it's there. And then sort of like the trick is that this number times this number, so 2 times X is equal to this number times that number. The reason why that works is because this allows for us to have the correct number of positives and negatives, because we have to have equal numbers of both. So 2X plus 1 times -2 equals 0. So 2x minus 2 is 0. 2x is equal to 2. X is equal to 1. It's always going to be a positive number. You're never going to get a negative. And then whatever number I get, that just goes in my parentheses. For the next one, I've got zinc, something, oxide. So it has nothing labeled, so I'm going to just go ahead and add in my label. So I just put ones at the bottom. I don't know what the charge of zinc is. It's X. I do know that oxygen's common charge is -2. So 1 times X plus 1 times -2 is equal to 0. I solve, I get the X is equal to 2. And then I just put that in my Roman numerals. For the next one, I find V on the periodic table. It's vanadium. I'm just leaving myself room, and then iodide. And then I solve again. So I have one vanadium. Oops, I want to use a different color. I have one vanadium, each with a charge of, let's say, X. Iodine's common charge is -1. 1 times X plus 3 times -1 is equal to 0. I get that X is equal to +3. So I do 1, 2, 3 in there. And then last one, I know it's manganese. Don't get it confused with magnesium. Something, oxide. So I have one magnesium, each with a charge of X. I have two oxygens, each with the charge of -2. 1 times X plus 2 times -2 is equal to 0. X is equal to +4. So I go back and I put that in my parentheses. So that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching and have a great night.